Welcome to the Tech Data Azure video series. My name is Sean Taylor, a Microsoft Solutions Architect within Tech Data UK. In this particular video we are going to create some virtual machines. Once those virtual machines have been created, we're then going to remote into them to show you connectivity. So we're in the Azure portal. I'm going to select New, Virtual Machine, and in this instance I'm going to select from Gallery. Now in another video we're going to show you how to create a virtual machine image by taking one of these gallery images and sysprepping it, and therefore that would appear within my images. Also, if you had your own virtual hard drive, you could actually import that into Azure and you'll be able to create a virtual machine from that hard drive. So in this instance we're just going to create a virtual machine from the gallery. So we'll take Windows Server 2012 R2 and we'll next that one. In this one we're going to call it TD tenant 1-DC1. In order to preserve a bit of my credit, I'm going to put that down as an A1. We need an administrative user, which is strongly recommended the fact that it is not administrator, and bearing in mind this virtual machine will receive a public IP address, I strongly recommend that you use a very strong password. That's not the one I wanted. Yeah, fingers cannot type. Hallelujah. And this is the real important part, because this is where we start to hook it up to objects that we've already created. So we're going to create a new cloud service for that. So that's automatically been given the name based on the virtual machine that we created. So that's been successful. And then we've got where do we want it from a networking point of view. So this is one of the things I referred to in an earlier video when we were talking about virtual networks. So rather than me just selecting Northern Europe and it giving us a 192.168 address, you can actually see the two virtual networks that we created earlier on. So this is where I can logically define where my virtual machines sit within the infrastructure, and that obviously governs what they're capable of communicating with. Now we're going to use this virtual machine in a later video, so we need to be able to get that to communicate with our on-premise estate. So we're going to use the tenant 1 virtual network. It's going to we've then got the subnets that were created within that particular solution. If I'd predefined a storage account, I could select from a predefined storage account, or it'll automatically create one. And then we've got the ports that are going to be automatically configured to allow connectivity to this particular solution, but you can stipulate quite a few extra ones. So that's sufficient for there. We're going to install the VM agent. You've also noticed that you can install additional software. So for example, you can take anti-malware protection for these virtual machines and not just the Microsoft product. So that's creating the new virtual machine. Whilst that's creating, I'm going to create a second virtual machine, same process. Server 2012 R2, we'll just whiz through this one. And again, to preserve a bit of the Azure credit that we've got, we'll bang that down a bit. Let's see if we can get password right first time. No. Oh dear. Hallelujah. And again, we're going to add that to the virtual network that allows communication between our on-premise and our Azure service. And we'll complete that one. So we've just got a couple of virtual machines up and running. That'll take a minute or two before they're live. And then what we can start to do is we can start looking at how to connect into these virtual machines. So in we go, using the credentials for the local machine, as it's not actually on the domain just yet. And this is our Windows Azure Server 2012 R2 box. And it's taken us straight into Server Manager. You may have noticed that background info, BG info, is installed by default, so it tells us about our deployment ID, our internal IP address, our public IP address. When we booted, what we've actually got, one of the really important things is D drive is a temporary drive that gets deleted every time you restart the server. So therefore, if you are looking to configure services, whatever you do, do not install to D, install to an alternate drive, so you can attach another hard drive if you wish to do so. We've got our host name, we've got our memory that's been allocated based on the size of the VM that we selected, the version of the operating system and the current user. We've got Server Manager, so we can look at all the relevant different services that are actually installed. So this moment we've got an error on the Windows time service. That's pretty much it. We can see local server details, and you can see that it's presently part of a work group. Firewall is on, remote management is disabled, we're connected in via RDP. You can check out its IP address assignment. This is where we could turn off and turn on various different local service features. You've still got same connectivity and management as you were before, so we can add and remove roles, or if we go into tools, we've got all the relevant different administration capability that we would have on an on-premise server. And if we just disconnect from that, and we should see that that file is located on my desktop. And we could quite happily just log in again. So that's there for me to use for administrative purposes. So in this particular video, we've created a couple of Azure virtual machines. Once they have been created, we've been able to connect into them and look at the amount of administration that we can do.